We live, y'all. We are live. We are. Look at all that pretty and pink. All right, our audience. We have a live studio audience. We brought out the family members to support us in this podcast. And today we're talking about surviving cancer. Surviving cancer. And this is our 20th episode. Can y'all believe this is the 20th podcast? 20. And it started off with me playing around, and now we're on number 20. And this one is special to me because Nicole and I, we do boot camp together, and she was telling me about her journey and how she wanted to share her experiences. And so we created this email or text group, and I was like, okay, y'all ready to tell y'all story? And in the beginning, they was like, no, I'm not ready to tell my story. And so it was Nicole's idea because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month that we should try it again. So we sent the text out to the ladies and say, hey, are you guys ready to tell your story? And it was amazing that it was unanimous that everybody was ready to tell their story. You guys gonna have to really share this post, like and subscribe to the page, but make sure that you share this with people that may be interested. Because we got a lot of people that's going through it, they're in it, or they're coming out of it. And these ladies have a wealth of experiences and that they can share with you to help you be able to navigate through this entire process. So I'm going to go ahead and allow the ladies to introduce themselves. And again, I'm sorry, I never said who I am, huh? I am Samantha Wise of Samantha Wise Words, the podcast. And as I said before, make sure you guys like and subscribe to this page. Make sure you go ahead and share this post because this is going to be a wealth of information. As you can see, we have 5 beautiful women here, and they're ready to just tell you everything about their journey. So I'm going to go ahead and start to my left and have, I call her Sister Nicole, tell you who she is and about your cancer, what type of cancer you have. So we're going to say who you are, the year you were diagnosed, and what type of cancer.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Crosby, and I was diagnosed with what they call a triple threat, which is triple negative, meaning that the breast cancer that I had was not connected to any hormones in my body. So they ruled it as environmental. And I was diagnosed in 2017.
2017. Yes. Wow. And this has been a journey. Mm-hmm. And we're going to find out all about your journey from the beginning to where we are today. Yes. Praise God for you living that healthy lifestyle, switching up some things in your life. And I'm glad to have you here with us. Yes. Yes. So now we have America. I call her America the Beautiful. Her name really is America. And you guys are going to be inspired by her journey as well, because we started this journey. Actually, I didn't go through it, but we had to beat her butt to get her to the doctor, almost. But we hit a couple of heels. We didn't have to get on her, but we had to hit some heels to make her go to the doctor. So go ahead, America.
America Patterson. I was diagnosed in September 2020, invasive lobular carcinoma, and mine was positive hormone receptive, which means that your cancer grows with hormones. And I learned from one of the boot camps, and I really think God sent me here because I had told Kaiser I was healthy. I'll call you guys when this COVID is over. So I didn't want to go. And I was sitting in my office, and I think so when we were praying, somebody had said, go to the doctor. And I still was like, yeah, you guys need to go because I'm healthy, right? Then I ended up, I got up in my office.
We're going to share that. We're going to wait. Because that's the dynamic story. But let us do the introductions first, and then we'll. She's ready. She is ready. I'm just telling you. No, we about to. But let's do the intro, and then we'll come back. We'll let you start your story first. After we go through the intro. Is that okay? She over here excited, y'all. Y'all can see her energy. She was like, I'm ready to go right now. And this next, we can't go back and edit it or nothing. No, we can't edit it. It just shows that your eagerness to share your story.
Well,
So
you know
next,
what? Because I know this is where I found out. You know, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, but I did not want to go to the doctor.
well, y'all, she was being hard-headed. But to my left, we have my sister Monica. I met Monica after she went through her process, but it was still very much alive. Your spirit was very much alive in the process, and I think even after coming out of it, you were willing to share. You were like, I had, and that energy, because I know a lot of people tell me that they're tired. I wasn't with you. I know your sister probably was with you during the journey, but I just know your energy after the fact was infectious. We kind of goofy. We like to sing. We represent Oakland everywhere we go. Can't nobody tell us nothing about Oakland. And so that's kind of like how we bonded. It's like we from the same neighborhood. We kind of got the same energy. And then we have a mutual girlfriend, LaShawn. So I just thank God for you being here. I'm glad that you decided to be a part of this. I know you kind of came in at the last end, but I am definitely glad that you're here. So you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And Samantha, thank you again for allowing me to participate. My name is Monica Burley, and I was diagnosed in February of 2007. I had stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma. And my hormone receptor positive. And I'm good now.
Well, praise God. I'm glad. That means you got
14 years.
14 years. That's amazing. That's 14. So you were saying, what about the number?
The number of completion of perfection is 7. That's double 7.
Okay. Well, you know, Nicole, she already took some numbers. She gonna hit us with a few scriptures too before the night is over. So now I have Sharice. Sharice was also a boot camp member as well. And as I said before, when she told me, you know, about her diagnosis, it's kind of like we went into automatic prayer. And your process actually, it to me, it seemed like it was just like bang, 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 that you didn't have time to breathe. It's just like, I got it. I went and had surgery. And it just went like bang, bang, bang. I'm looking up and she outside again. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be recovering from cancer? And she gonna tell you about her story, but I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to my right, Miss Sharice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharice Newman. I was diagnosed in 2020 when the pandemic first hit with stage 3 invasive ductal. Yeah, that word.
I was trying to figure out that word. I wrote it down.
Like
I'm
that.
Yeah. Also, I learned that I have the BRCA2 gene, so I can get cancer in the future else places. So I have to really have a preventative lifestyle of getting checked and, you know, things like that. In the future, I'll have my ovaries removed, so I won't suffer ovarian cancer. But yeah, here I am.
Praise God. Praise God. That was a lot to go through during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, because it was already a lonely place to be because you didn't have access to people, to work, to your loved ones. You couldn't go see your mama because you didn't know if, you know, I may have COVID or I didn't want to spread COVID to my mom. So you were kind of like,
I had to wait to see the doctor to see what it was when I found my mom. So that was challenging.
wow.
Very challenging and scary.
And last but definitely not least, my neighbor, Miss Regina. She was my neighbor at first, and then she kept hearing me in the garage doing all that bump in the garage, me doing my boot camp, and then so she came and joined us. She was mostly online because she has a heavy workload, but just, you know, being in it with her as you found out. So it's like all these things have been connected. We were all connected at some point, and it was like through boot camp, it was through this, and it's like I would hope that we supported you as best we could. I know you had to travel and stuff like that, so I'm gonna let her introduce herself as well. But that's my neighbor, Gina girl.
My name is Regina Gibbs, and I was diagnosed in December of 2020 with a very rare cancer called esthesioneuroblastoma, which is a nasal cancer. It's like deeply embedded into your skull. So it's at the higher area of your nasal capsule, or cavity, I should say. And it was a shock to me because, as Sam mentioned, I I was traveling, I was busy, I wasn't getting tired or anything, and I'm not a person that gets sick all the time. Like I haven't had a cold, a common cold in like 15 years, you know. So the only thing that I really had going was, you know, a little bit overweight, which is why I joined, you know, the group, because I was eating a lot. But other than that, yeah, I was just living my normal life, and it was very shocking. I was actually misdiagnosed initially, which is common. I think like 2,000 people per year get this type of cancer, and typically they're in the construction business, which was interesting too, because I'm not. So I don't know if it was environmental or what, and they don't have a lot of research on it as well. So yeah, I'm just glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
I'm glad to have you here. And so everybody here pretty much it was breast cancer. Am I correct? Except for Regina?
Right.
And so breast cancer, it says it starts when healthy cells change and begin to grow out of control, and then it turns into a tumor. Is that what you and that's pretty much so? Is that the same? It's all the same. So when they say we have a tumor, I like to get the tumors checked. You know, take it. I be asking them to take it out. I mean, they are always telling me like, no, we don't need to take it out. But I'm like, I don't want nothing foreign in my body. So the doctors are almost against you doing like the invasive surgeries because they don't want to spend the money to make it happen. But then again, I'm not feeling safe because at some point, don't it turn into something? It could turn into something more serious.
Yeah.
The mass,
So I mean, when you say a mass, what does that actually?
cancer cells, that's pumped up together, form a mass.
So that's when they say check for
It
the
gets
lumps
hard.
and stuff like that. And when you say like a lump, is it one that you can smash? Because sometimes, okay, so you can't smash it,
No,
and it won't move.
no.
Well, it does like a frozen pea.
A frozen pea. Wow. So it doesn't. So just say like when I'm going through the cycle, I get like little knots in my breast, and then you know it be moving. I be trying to touch it and move it around. So it just goes from the left to the right. Okay. So it's just fluid. And so, what would you want to tell a woman? I mean, we should be checking ourselves how often? Or not even a woman.
First of
This
the
can,
month is a good practice.
okay. The
That
first.
way you know it's the first of the month and I check myself every time.
Okay.
First of the month. It's just you in your shower.
Yeah, some say when you every time you take a shower.
Yeah.
So every time you take a shower, you just what? Just tap, tap, tap.
Because they're going to circle around.
Yeah.
So our studio audience, they doing it too. So they doing this too. They doing this too. So, America, since you were so eager, she was so happy to start and tell her story. So I remember on the hill, we were walking up Maybell Hill, and I believe you fall in the hole or something.
That was on the way back. That was
On the way
after we
down.
already, on the way down after I've already been
Okay.
diagnosed.
So at our boot camp, Tip Top Shape, plug. At our boot camp, after every boot camp, we do a prayer. And it's not, sometimes it's not even for us. It could be for anybody in a situation, or anybody could be going. We don't want to have our members walk away unprotected. And so back then we were joining hands. We were, you know, Sister Heather would lead, or Sister Nicole would lead, or whoever the Spirit gave utterance to, they would lead. And I just remember it was Heather who said, "Go get checked." Ladies, she said, "Ladies, I don't know who this is for, but make sure you get to the doctor." And somebody had been ditching Kaiser's call. Go ahead, tell them why you was ditching Kaiser's call.
So when we shut down, I had an appointment. Kaiser called me to cancel the appointment. And then they kept calling me June, July. July, I joined Tip Top Shade. And I didn't know that they prayed after, so we were praying. So September, July, August, Kaiser still kept calling me. Finally, I got to the point where I said, you know what? Don't call me. I'll call you guys when this is all over. Meaning the pandemic.
She got her nerve, right?
And right. And so it was in September, because it was at the end of August. I made my appointment September 8th, the day after the holiday. And you know, let me backtrack. Before I made my appointment, I was in my office and I got up to look for something. I couldn't think of what, so I sat by my desk and I looked at the phone and I heard the voice say call, and make your phone. So let me call these people, get this out the way. And, right? And I called, and even when I went to go, so I made my appointment, went to my appointment. Even when I went to the appointment, I told the lady, I said, okay, I'm glad I got that over with. I'll see you in 2 years. And she didn't have no expression. And so I just thought she was being rude. So I went home, they called me right away. And they said, come in, we gotta do a biopsy. I still didn't have my results at that point. But once they started shuffling me from room to room, I knew something was going on. I started crying. They said, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm okay, but once you know that, they don't give you the results then. I went home, and once I went home, they called me and told me but like I said, they don't give you the results. But that's how I found out. So I really believe God sent me to Tip Top Shape to get that message, because I really had told Kaiser I'm healthy. And I was working out every day, running 3 miles every Tuesday, Monday and Wednesday. I was good. In hindsight, I did feel fatigued. You just think get your body tired all the time, but in hindsight, I got more energy now than I did then. But I just thought, so that's how I found out.
So when you found out, what did that feel like your mindset? I know the first person you called was your husband.
I don't know. Did I call him? I don't even remember if I called him. I think I just went home.
Okay.
Because I think he was at work and I didn't want to tell him over the phone.
Right.
So, I told him I got home, and then when you get scared, you're scared. I was a mess the first week, and I hadn't even gotten any information. And I was a mess, right? And so, I started looking online. I said, no, stop looking online. Don't go online. I started praying. I was praying from the time I went, I just was praying the whole time, from the time that I knew I had to go for my biopsy. So, but like I said, it took me a week. I got to the point where I said, Lord, you know what? I should not be afraid. It's not of you. And you have to just remember where you're from. And your base. Yeah, exactly. And so you just remember, and once I got to that point, I would say it was a week, and I had to go to work. I'm going to work, so I'm closing my office, and I'm like tearing, every day, because I had to work. And so it was tough, but you find out what your base is, and you pray the Lord. That was my base, and my husband helped me, and I told him, and he was scared. I looked at his face, and I seen he was scared, but we're going to get through this. I told my daughter, my son, mom might, change over time. I have to get treatment, and I told them that it was hard for them. It's tough for them. They each took it differently. He's 30 now. She's 23, but they both took it different. But I think, you're scared. Your first thing is, oh my God, am I going to die? Yeah.
So did all you guys have that feeling like, oh my God, am I going to die? I think that's a valid feeling. I get a little cold. I be like, so I've never gone through anything. I know I had a couple of scares when they said like a tumor, we're going to test it and it'll come back negative. But nothing like this, to be actually told that you have, a disease, and now you got to fight for your life. And you have to go back and remember everything that was poured into you.
Well, for me, I had discovered the lump September of 2006, and I'm very in tune with my body, so I knew this is not supposed to be there. So I went to Kaiser, and I had 2 mammograms, and they both came out negative. I'm like, no, you have to refer me to radiology because I need an ultrasound.
You told me.
I told Kaiser. I was at that point. I was going to Kaiser and Manteca, and the doctor then was like, "No, may no, Miss Hudson, you don't have a family history. It's probably just a benign tumor, you know. And I'm like, no, you need to schedule me for an ultrasound.
Right.
So this was August of 2006. Still in the back of my head, they scheduled me for, no, they gave me the number. I kept putting it off. They'll call, Miss Hudson, we need to make an appointment for an ultrasound. Oh, I work for courts. Oh, no, I have court that day. So this went from September, October, November, December, January. So
You waited 5 months?
let me go have this ultrasound. I went and had the ultrasound. You can clearly see the mass, but I don't know, you know, I don't know what's going on. So the next week, they said, we need you to come and have a biopsy. So I went January 30th, 2007, had the biopsy. They did the biopsy. They're still not saying anything. I went home. They immediately called me. We need you to come back on the 1st. So when I had the biopsy, they had put the bandage on, but it was just bleeding and bleeding. The blood kept seeping through, and I'm still not, you know, whatever. When they told me, you have breast cancer. The radiologist, my appointment was at 3:45. The radiologist had made me an appointment to see the surgeon at 4 o'clock.
15 minutes away.
Yes, and walked me over to that office. And I'm like, oh Lord, why is everything like
So
this?
quick,
Like,
right?
what is the problem? Like,
That was
oh Lord, I'm gonna die. Like, who's gonna take care of my kids? Can't nobody take care of my kids the way I take care of my kids. I had the meeting with the surgeon. So this was February 1st.
So this is 2/1 of 2007. Okay.
I had pre-op February 6th, surgery February 9th. I had a lumpectomy. And my
Okay, so
first chemo,
what's a lumpectomy?
a lumpectomy is they didn't take the entire breast.
Okay.
They just took
The cancer part.
cancer part out. Yeah. So, you know,
Is
I
that
had
what the
a-
scar? That's what that
the
scar is?
scars, right before right before the surgery, they had a port put into my chest.
Okay.
So the chemo is administered through IV.
Okay.
So instead of going through my arm, they put the
The port
port
in.
in,
Okay.
and then they just stick the needle in there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can have easy access.
So is
Yeah,
that, did all you guys have that same procedure?
Yes.
No?
I did.
Yes.
Mine was through IV.
Okay.
Okay.
You
So
mean
yeah,
port,
I had
right?
port.
Yours is through
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have the port. So what's the difference between a port and the IV? What's the
the
difference?
way they administrate the chemo.
Right.
Mine was here.
Okay. And I didn't understand what chemo was, because I, people be like, they go to chemo, or what's the other way?
Radiation.
Or radiation.
I had both.
So do you want to anybody want to kind of go over that? Because I looked it up and I was like, well, dang. It just seemed like something, the radiation seemed like was that the one that burns?
I had 16 treatments. So my first 3 treatments were once every 3 weeks, and then then when it came to my 4th treatment, it was 1 treatment once a week. So I had my first treatment was March 13th, and my last treatment was September 11th.
And this is chemo.
This is chemo. So
Okay.
I had the port in, and I would go, and it took about 3 hours.
Okay.
For
Each
the
time?
dripper, yeah. So you think a chemical that if you touch it can like burn your skin.
So that's what the
the
chemo
infusion
is?
center, yes. They're wrapped up, you all
They have
wrapped up, like they cannot touch the chemo. So imagine a chemical like that it touches your skin, it will burn your skin
And this
going
is
through
what
your
your
veins.
Yes.
So it's painful.
It wasn't
It's
painful,
not
no.
painful, but if it seeps out, like with her getting the IV, and if it's some leaked out, it could burn.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Did
didn't
you
know
go
that.
study going through your body?
Yes,
I did, yeah.
So what do you mean feel like going through your veins?
Mhm.
So like drinking water, you can feel like the water trickling through your body?
Because the
Yeah.
port is connected to a main,
Yeah.
main port. It's
So you
distributed all
see
over the
the
body.
port, and then there's a line that's coming up here
Yes.
somewhere.
So-
You see it?
Hmm.
So the neck part. So you have the port and there's a tube
Mhm.
that's coming up and going into your main artery.
Yes.
And so that main artery feeds the medicine through your whole body. Oh, wow.
And you don't have to get an IV.
Yeah.
Because they just connect.
So they just connect through that line.
Yeah.
So you don't still have the port installed?
No, they took the port out 3 years later.
Okay.
But after I had the chemo, 3 years later, after I had the chemo, they waited 4 weeks, and then I had radiation once daily.
Yeah. you-
Radiation is
Friday.
daily?
Yeah.
Radiation
Monday
daily.
through Friday for 6 weeks. But it
Yeah.
started burning me, so I was only able to do 4.
So it was burning you internally?
It was burning the
skin.
skin.
So it was burning your skin, so you would have like burn marks in your
Yeah.
skin? So did you guys ever get to the point where, I remember when my mother-in-law was going through it, she stopped driving, because she said her feet were getting numb?
That's the
So
neuropathy.
The neuropathy,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So did you?
I had it, and I couldn't go to get my feet done for years afterwards.
Hmm.
So it's because of the touch is too much for it,
It
or?
was painful.
So the chemo, when it goes through your body, it goes through your nerves. And so you feel the neuropathy comes through your fingertips or your toes.
Right.
And it's like, to me, it felt like a whole bunch of ants just doing this to the tips of my fingers and toes.
So did they give you something to kind of calm it? Do they give you something to, what do you take as a relief? Is there any reliever, like a pain reliever, or a symptom reliever?
Well, I added a breast cancer app, and one of the things that they say is to use ice in your feet.
Yes.
So I had
The
ice socks
Mm-hmm.
and then mittens.
And
the mittens.
Yeah, and I didn't get it
I use
had
those.
to.
throughout the whole time.
For my chemo, when I was taking the adriamycin, I had to have the ice mitts and the feet.
Mm-hmm. They were.
Ice. Yeah. To prevent neuropathy in the
Yes.
future.
Yeah, and I think it did because I didn't
Yeah, I
get
don't
on.
have any problems. Ooh, sitting there with them ice on
I
your hands, no
know, and I
feet.
hate to be cold.
So how long did you have to keep that on your hands?
While I was getting my
Treatment.
So only while you're getting the treatment. So when you go home, you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also a powder. I can't think of it. It's the powder that you take when you're working out. But what's the name of the powder?
She talking to her husband in the audience, so that, she calling her husband.
Glutamine, and it's a protein, amino acid powder that normally athletes take, but they say that it coats the nerves. So I will put that in like my water and drink that every day. So
Now,
when I was going through treatment, yes.
they told me I couldn't take anything going through treatment.
But it was natural. They actually recommended it for that.
I used to take them and I stopped because I wasn't sure.
If it was gonna affect.
They told me don't take anything. They didn't want to protect the cells. So when we have chemo, it's killing all cells. However, the good cells we want to keep.
Yeah.
We try to protect them, but it's not good because it might miss some of the cancer cells.
So this one just coats the nerves. So it just helps.
Okay.
with the
So did it
neuropathy.
do you feel like taking that product made you feel better?
Yes, because I didn't experience it, I didn't have the worst case. Actually, I didn't have it at all until the very end, and then it just went away.
So tell me, how did you discover? Did you do like a routine mammogram and then they found it, or how did you discover?
Sister Nicole got to be special.
we know you special, girl.
So what happened with me, I believe, the Lord showed me as well. So what happened, I fell asleep in my bed watching something on my laptop, and then I woke up like with a jolt. I just woke up out of my sleep and my hand went on my breast. Now, I don't normally give myself breast exams. So my hand landed right on it, and it was like a frozen pea. And so I began to reach to it was the left, my right. So I started to feel on my left breast, and this one was soft. But then when I go back to this one, that pea was very obvious that it was a difference. And so I was like, oh Lord. So right away, I just knew. I just started crying. And so my husband was in the living room. He came in the room to go to bed. I told him, and I had him to feel it. And he said, we're not going to assume that it is something. We'll just make your appointment and get it checked out. And I was like, okay. And so the next day, we went to a church service, and the message was afflicted for advancement.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, God, here we go. So the following week, I made my appointment to my doctor. And so the same thing when you were saying, Sam, about your lymph nodes flaring up and maybe after your cycle. She said, well, when was your last cycle? And it was recent. So she said, it's nothing. It's probably just some fluid. You just got your cycle. I'm not worried about it. But what we're going to do, we're going to schedule a biopsy anyway. So I said, okay. So I'm just like, So anyway, I went for the biopsy, which was very painful. I think that's one of the worst part of the experience.
So what do they do? So for the audience members, what do they do with the biopsy when you say you go get a biopsy? What does that mean?
When they give you a biopsy, they actually give you a local anesthetic, which kind of supposed to numb the area. And then they cut you and they remove a piece of the cells so they can test it. Okay. And so my breast was not numb, and he began to cut, and he had to administer some more medicine in order for me not to feel it, but it was horrible. But anyway, I did the biopsy. I waited, I think maybe within a couple of the next, I don't know if it was that week or the next week, I got a call. I was at work on my lunch, and my doctor called me, and she said, yes, it is cancer. But the way she said it was just so common.
Matter of fact,
Either way.
Yeah, she's like, yes, and I just began to scream. I was in the cafeteria, and I just screamed, and I was just like in shock. And I was like, what? She said yes, but then she added,
this is a phone call. Okay.
She told me over the phone, and she was like, well, women, there's a lot of different medicines out there, and a lot of women survive it, so it's not a death sentence. I don't want you to think it's a death sentence. Just go ahead and make your appointment with the oncologist and get checked out and take it from there. So I was like, oh Lord. So I'm not gonna lie, I went crazy. Sister Nicole, faith was waving. And so
But what was the pastor's sermon about again? Sam, what was it about?
Afflicted for advancement.
Okay.
So as I received the news, I kind of was very selective who knew. It was like 3 prayer warriors that I told from my church because I wanted them to intercede, and my husband, and I didn't even tell my children or my mom for 3 months.
Wow.
And I went through, they say sometimes when you go through like a diagnosis like that, sometimes you go into a denial stage first. So I believe I was in denial, but what it really was, I said, Lord, I have the faith that you can remove it.
Right.
And so when I went in to see the doctor, she said, you have triple negative, which means that you will have to have all 3 things: chemo, radiation, and surgery. And so before I went into the appointment, I texted my associate pastor and another minister at my church, and I didn't tell them to come. I was just like, pray for me, I'm going to my appointment. When I looked up, they were there. Wow. And so my husband was at work that day, and when I sat in the room and they gave me the news, I just broke. And I said, okay, God. And basically, you could tell it was one of the worst types. Because they was like, my one of the ministers, she was a survivor from breast cancer, and she had just surgery. So she was like, well, doctor, can't you just come off and just like, that'll be it? And she was explaining that's what she went through. She said, no, not with this one. She has to do everything. And I just was like, Jesus. So what happened was I was so devastated. The nurse there, her name is Lauren, who is my friend to this day.
I believe so.
She said, I don't normally do this, but I'm gonna give you my number. And she said, and she's actually the nurse that works with my doctor. So she's like, if you need anything, you let me know. When I tell you I had a team in that, and as I went for each treatment, I had my scheduler, the secretary, and the nurse. And I called them my 3 angels. And I said, no matter what, when I'm taking chemo, one of y'all gotta come see me. I just need to see your face. So I always count on them to come see me. So as I went through that process, like I said, I didn't tell my family for a long time, but my worship was different. When I went to church, I just was crying out. I was running around church crying, and nobody didn't know what was going on. Even my husband, he was running around church. And I got diagnosed in April. Was it April? Let's see. I had my biopsy in March. And so, yeah, I got diagnosed in March, and I got my port in 2 days before my birthday.
And what year was that?
2017. So April 24th, 2017, I got my port in, and then the following month in May is when I started chemo. And I had to do 2 types of medicine. One was Taxol, which wasn't bad. I had to do for 12 weeks. And that one you could still function. And, you know, it just makes you a little tired. But I had another medicine, what they call the Red Devil, AC.
That's the age of it, my son.
Okay, you know the term.
So the AC
Oh,
was.
you had it. Oh,
That
Lord.
red Kool-Aid.
Now that red one knocked me out. And it's like you can't do anything and you have to wait for your body to recuperate. And it might take that whole week. And then Sunday you might feel, to go to the bathroom was a task, just to get up.
Because you were tired. So
It knocks you out. Yes.
I felt lifeless.
So
You know.
I'm gonna take a pause for 1 second. So I want to kind of go in. You guys are getting a lot of chatter on Facebook and YouTube. So Letitia says, "Thank you, ladies, for sharing your story." Auntie August said, "Thank you, beautiful ladies, for sharing." Aisha is saying, "Please explain more about the triple threat." Dion is she's tagging somebody. My auntie Christine has asked me, "Why did I not invite her?" Auntie, you were invited. Auntie August was supposed to give you the message. We didn't get a response back. Check your Facebook page. What else is considered a preventative lifestyle? Have you adjusted your diet based on your diagnosis? And there's a couple other people. Oh, Kiana said she saw you run in the lake like a beast. You were out there running, getting them 3 miles. And Kiana said she said Lake Chabot.
Chabot,
She
yeah.
saw you at Lake Chabot.
I did. I
Running.
ran into them.
Yeah, you were out there getting it in. Holly Wu said, "I'm watching and I also wear pink for the woman fighting the fight and all the survivors." So there's a lot of other items going on. Look like somebody saying Black Girl Power, go ladies. Checking in from Sassoon. Hey y'all from Sassoon. We reading some of the message and we're gonna go back in. That's Holly. We already said she's wearing pink because she supports you guys.
Thank you.
Let's see what else Mr. Wise is coming up with. Such courage. Thank you. That's Rosalind Brown. Roz, hey Roz. Yeah, these some strong ladies. I tell you, they strong.
They wanted to know the triple threat.
So yeah, you can go with a triple threat.
So triple threat just means that it was a triple negative. Some people are HER2 positive, or it has a positive to a hormone in your body. The triple threat means that it's negative. It didn't connect to anything in my body. And I took the genetic test, and it was nothing in my genetics that caused the cancer. So they ruled it as being environmental, something in the environment.
So do you think that cancer could be caused by the foods we ingest? Yeah. I totally believe that too. I think God made our food the way he wanted it to be. And because they want the chicken to grow so fast, they want, our vegetables to be the biggest vegetables. Strawberries ain't that big. Right. And you go over the corner, they this big. But then when you go to Paris or London, when my daughter told me the strawberries are really, really small. Mm-hmm. And so we just have to be careful. Eat organic when you can. I know you guys have to change some of your diets. Yeah. Sharice, I want to know, I'm pivoting to you because I want to know your story.
So my story began watching Lifetime, laying across the bed, laying wrong on my right boob and adjusted it and felt a huge lump on the side. Like, oh, okay, what's that? I sit up, check the Nicole, check the left one, like nothing's there. Checked again, oh, that's definitely something. And I kind of panicked. My heart was racing, I was afraid, and kind of went to Google a little bit to ask some questions about lumps in your breast and maybe not cancer. Hopefully it wasn't cancer. So finally I was able to get into the doctor's office, and my doctor, she was concerned also when she felt it. Sent me for my mammogram, and rushed for the biopsy. This all started April 2020. So by June, I had my diagnosis. I had my met with my breast surgeon, met with my oncologist at Epic Care in Reveal to see what the plan was. And he, said it looked good. It was stage 3 because it had spread to my lymph nodes under my arm. And the tumor was like 4.5 centimeters big. So that was a medium size.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? When you guys say stage, what does that actually mean? I mean, so when you say you were stage 3, right?
Yeah,
We're having the stage 1 and stage 2.
past that.
That's it.
So we didn't catch it when it was at stage 1.
And it depends on the size and the area. I think
And the
hers went up
spread.
because of it spread it.
Mine was 3 because of the spread.
Mhm.
My lump was just registered as a stage 2. But because it spread, they labeled it as stage 3.
And it didn't spread.
So yours just stayed.
It stayed right there. They took 2 lymph nodes out, but it hadn't spread.
And they don't stage perinasal cancer the same as they do breast cancer. So it is based on the same things, but they have this, what they call a CADISH system. So you get a letter from that, and then you also get a stage as part of it. And so the CADISH determines like how far it has spread. And then the stage is like how fast the tumor is actually growing.
So they have
So
to
you
get
get
the size and the speed.
So you get kind of
And the aggression kinda,
yeah.
Okay.
I asked them, what is the urgency? Why are you guys like boom, boom, boom? I had just turned 40. They said I was premenopausal, so they had to take me the rest of the day.
So when you going through the process, as women, we go through the process and menopause. Would that speed up the process because we're going through the stage?
Well, I was premenopausal. I wasn't menopausal yet. I was just 40. But when I started chemo, it pushed me into
Yeah,
menopause.
right
in.
For sure
It
does.
pushed me into
Yeah.
menopause.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that we're providing information because when you guys are speaking the language, everybody is like, huh, what does that mean? Because for me, I'm a layman, so I want to learn as much as I can from you guys so that I can translate and our people can also understand what they mean. So when if they have to go to the doctor, they'll be aware or they'll remember this conversation and be able to take notes. These notes that you guys, hope you guys are taking notes. And as I said before, make sure you guys share, because you just never know who could be dealing with this,
In silence, too.
And-
In
and-
silence.
So, okay, so go ahead. We're going to go back to that.
So I was scheduled for my first chemo in August. So I got my port placed August the 6th, and I started chemo August the 13th. The ramifications of the chemo, losing your hair, fatigue. Sometimes your nails can get black, your fingertips, your nail tips can turn black. And I did also, like Sister Nicole, had a great care team that was helping me with the chemo. The nurses would come see me, and they had all kinds of little snacks and stuff for the treatment patients and things. So I didn't have like a bad experience with chemo. I did feel some fatigue, some nausea, but pretty much it was smooth sailing. I did the Taxol and then the Adriamycin. I finished chemo December 31st, New Year's Eve. I had to have a double mastectomy. So they took both my breasts away, and I had reconstruction surgery. So they took some stomach that I had and gave me new girls. And I was able to get that through my insurance because of my cancer gene. So they didn't want to take, the right and then come back and the left, and then I had to do it all over again. So they just said take both and be done with it. So
How did you feel going through that process of the removal? Did that make you feel? Because I know a lot of people say about the hair. They trip about losing their hair. They feel like they're less of a woman or something like that. I don't know. That's why we're gonna have this conversation.
my cry in the beginning, when I found out, I kind of questioned God, like, why? What did I do to deserve cancer? But after that phase, when I was, what would I be willing to give up for my life? Take the hair, Lord, take the boots, I don't need none of that, leave me here, you know?
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me too much, you know, we had all kind of newfangled wigs.
Right,
and,
right.
You know, bras that have the girls in them, so
Right.
it's like, you can be in
But I'm
there
living.
for us. Yeah,
But
so
I'm
I'm
living.
still
So
here,
all that
so
other stuff is just.
I didn't worry about that. And then I did have also, I started radiation in May. I had to do the 5 weeks every day
Yes.
radiation. I did end up getting burned, so I had to stop my physical therapy because my skin was all raw. And you know, it was, with the lymph nodes, they want you to exercise, and so later on I won't lose usage of my arm. So I had to pause it. I got to start that back up.
Did you use any cream?
I did not. I had to use something at the end when it got really bad, but that was like something that they prescribed because they told me don't use anything.
I'm surprised.
No, they
I
use
used
Aquaphor.
that and something.
I
else.
used something that was like a baby cream from the baby owl. and
Yeah,
it helped.
yeah.
So do you think that, because I know you had yours, well, not that much longer, so you think that the 2020, they're changing the way they approach the skincare now?
No, I just think certain doctors tell
Okay,
me.
okay.
Give you certain insight and some no. Yeah, I know I had to do something afterwards, but it was really fine until the very, very end, and then it just it really took a turn for the worse at the end. But that's the only like ramifications I had. I had some constipation too from the nausea medicine.
Lord Jesus.
And so, when you, okay, so I know you guys, I think everybody on here has said something about nausea. What does that feel like? What does that look like? Did you just was sick all the time? You couldn't eat? I mean,
Smell, look at something,
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to look at that or smell that.
And then you lose your
The
taste.
smell.
Yeah, he would cook and I'm
Your
like, you
taste
can't cook.
Taste
you
bud.
feel like honey, you can't eat?
And you can't cook. You
No
go
taste
outside and cook outside.
And it kills all the cells, so even your taste buds,
Yes,
it tastes like
it's
metal.
a stainless steel spoon. It's
Yeah, nothing.
plastic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you won't,
And it even affected my vision.
Wow, so
I
how
go
did
to the movies, I couldn't see nothing.
you just listen to the movie? Wow, so did your vision come back to where it was?
It came back.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was just thinking, you know, the radiation.
And I blew up. I've always been tiny, and I went from like a size 4 to a 12.
Really?
Yes.
yeah.
Taste buds
Look,
are not.
sisters over here saying.
I blew up.
So what, Nicole? You what? What did you
Lost weight?
You lost
Well,
weight?
I think from the initial diagnosis, I lost 20 pounds in the first month because I was so nervous.
Yeah, you probably stressed yourself.
And I didn't pick up any, I just stayed the same kind of the whole time.
Okay.
I didn't lose or gain. I had to actually maintain my weight throughout the 6 weeks of radiation. So because it was going directly between my eyes and into my head. So I couldn't move. I had to have a face mask, a mesh mask over my face, which is in the beginning it was like smothering, and then after a while I got kind of used to it. But I couldn't gain or lose, so I had to do a high protein diet. It impacted my smell because I don't have smell anymore. Because
Even now.
yeah,
Okay.
I won't ever have smell again. Because they took the nerve out. That's where the cancer originated. And so I didn't get the nauseous feeling or anything like that, but it did impact my taste buds for a while. It didn't happen really until like that last week of radiation, and I lost all of my taste. And then I got scared after that because I was like, well, what's going to happen? Because I didn't have any appetite, and I knew I had to maintain the weight. And so, I was on a liquid diet for a while, and then it slowly started coming back to taste. Because I was like, can I have just a little bit of taste? Just a little bit, yeah. And so even now, I probably have about 15% of my taste, but it's enough for me to be satisfied with my meal. And I just asked God for that. I said, if I just can taste sweet, sour, give me something. Give me something. Spicy. And so it's at a point where I can do that, but I still struggle with like saliva, production doesn't always, my mouth is dry, my vision, I had just changed my prescription for my eyes and then had to change it again. So it's just an ongoing thing, but I just stopped. My last treatment was in gym. So I'm kind of new to the survivorship.
Well, no, you survived. I just thank God that you guys, I know God has something else for y'all to do. And this could be one of those things God wants you guys to kind of do. Stand on His word. And you didn't go through the test for you to keep it for yourself.
That's right.
It's for you to go out and tell the masses that because you got a diagnosis doesn't mean it's the end. God still has work for you to do. From what I've heard at this table is that you were scared initially, but then you were brought back to the word about fear is not of God.
Yes.
And
I would say that too, that the biggest thing for me that I learned through the whole process is surrender.
Yes.
There you go.
I mean, people talk about it, and I've been in church and we do it out of routine sometimes, and we say it, but I really learned how to surrender everything.
What you mean? Like you just gave it to God.
And stop worrying about it. I just said, God, just give it all to you. And that didn't happen literally until I was laying there right before surgery. So, because I went into a different mode and I was going.
And so you actually left Oakland. You went and
I went to Houston. Because I literally handled I didn't have no emotion whatsoever when I was diagnosed. And some may call it denial, but I didn't feel like I was denying it. I just felt like I needed to take action. That's the way I felt about it. So one was education, because I wasn't.
No, I was reading. It says, "Tell the sister to lift me up." I just started treatment. So it doesn't say who the Facebook user is, but we see you, and we're gonna add you to our. We're gonna have Sister Nicole before we end the podcast. End us in prayer, because she's good, and she's actually a minister. So someone asked the question. They said, "How did Regina find out?" She said, "As your cancer was very different."
Well, it was the symptoms started like January, February of 2020. So I actually went a year without even knowing I had any of it, because I was misdiagnosed. So I had this runny nose that was going on, and it was the middle of COVID. Everyone was shutting down at that time. And so initially I thought, I have COVID, because I literally was, even during my travels, I was going all the places where COVID was being discovered, from London to Seattle to Denver. And I was just following it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I must have it. And so I tried to get tested for that. And at that time, that's when they were telling me, oh, you can get tested anywhere. But then when you go, they said, no, you can't. So I was like, oh my God, what's going on? So I finally called my doctor and asked to get tested. And they told me, well, they're not doing tests there, just to, eat soup and things like that and nurse it. So I went a couple months that way. And then when it didn't shake, I finally went in to the doctor's office. And at that time, too, keep in mind, they weren't even allowing too many people to come in, right? At that time. So when I went in, my doctor ended up referring me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. And so I went to him. And when he first took a look at me, he said, oh, you have a nasal polyp, which is common for this type of cancer, for you to be diagnosed with that. So I'm still thinking, like, nasal polyp, I don't know so I went through the whole treatment for nasal polyps, which is basically Flonase, and every now and again they might give you prednisone, which is a steroid. And so I went on that for this lengthy time, like for 3 months. And then another 3 months, I went back to see him.
Of having cancer, they still
have me doing that. And then finally he says, well, your polyp is really stubborn, so we may have to do surgery. And so that's what surgery, no, not doing surgery, not on me. And so, I mean, that was somebody, not on me. Right. And so I started questioning his skills, because I'm like, finally, after I responded to him that way, he said, well, let's do an MRI. And so when he did the MRI, that was when it was discovered. And even then, he was questioning whether or not it was a cancerous tumor or not. He thought it was just still was a big polyp, nasal polyp. And so after he and I went back and forth, I found that he did a CT scan as well. And then he did a biopsy, which he actually took a piece of the tumor because you could actually, it started growing, so you could actually kind of see it a little bit. See it, my nose.
Wow.
And so he took a piece of it, my nose was bleeding and all that. And then the biopsy confirmed the diagnosis. And then there's levels of care, because I really want to touch on that, because I know we tell our stories, but navigating the healthcare system is a work beyond what you would expect, and finding the right doctors. And so for me, that was a task, because it was rare cancer, and I didn't know who had the skills.
Right.
You know, so I read about it. I joined a few support groups of people. I got advice. I got from people around the country just telling me who their doctors were, what kind of treatment they received. And so I actually even went to the medical journals and was writing about this type of cancer.
Right.
And got to the point where I narrowed it down to these doctors in MD Anderson in Houston. And I was going to Stanford. And so I had this list of questions that I had for them, like, how often did you see this type of cancer?
You was interviewing them.
I was interviewing them.
Right.
Like, you know, how many of these surgeries have you done? How many were successful? How many was unsuccessful? Because when you have something like that in the middle, that, you know, my tumor went from my nasal cavity, it broke through. Basically, from your nasal cavity to your brain, there's a little bony tissue, and my tumor had broke through that and entered into the cavity where my brain is.
Oh, wow.
So I had to have a craniotomy, and it did.
And what is a craniotomy?
So craniotomy is almost like when they have to cut this way around your head, and they have to go in through your skull and through your nose. So I had to do both because of how the tumor had grown. And yeah, and that was scary. Just hearing that, it was like, oh my God, it was like, oh my goodness. And so when hearing it, I was like, oh my God, this is like a lot, you know. And then there was like different methods about each doctor that recommended, like, oh, we think you should get chemo first, surgery, then radiation. Then I had, well, no, you don't need chemo, you just get surgery and radiation. And it went back and forth, and I don't know, every hospital usually has a tumor board. I don't know if you guys had to go through that part. Yeah, and basically what they do is take your case to all the doctors in the hospital, and they talk about your case, and then they come out with a recommendation. And so Stanford said chemo with surgery and radiation. What I didn't care for, and it's not to say Stanford isn't a good hospital, because they are, but I didn't get the warm and fuzzies from the neurosurgeon. You know, he was too anxious to go in for me. I didn't feel like we were in lockstep together, you know, about where we should go. I felt like I was like a guinea pig for him to write his journal. Because, you know, rare cancers, they want that for their notoriety, you know, purposes. So I ended up flying out to Houston, and I have family in the South. That's where my family from, Louisiana, Texas. And so I flew out there and got a second opinion at Ingest, and I would actually ask for the specific doctor that I saw that had years of experience with it. And I saw him, and he immediately started from scratch. He said, I want to make sure, he said, first I want the tissue that they took from Stanford sent here. Okay. And so we did that. And then he examined me from, you know, head to toe. Yeah, I had PET scan, I had everything. And I felt like, okay, this is
It's
somebody.
like- it just felt right.
It just felt
Yeah.
right, yeah. And they're praying hospital too. So I was like,
So is it a cancer center or is it an actual hospital?
it's a cancer center,
Okay.
and that's all they do. And so after seeing him, and he, explained things to me, he had a really good staff that was supporting him, nurses, and everything. And he told me, he said, well, the neurosurgeon I'm going to suggest here, I've been working with him for a long time. We, basically colleagues. It was just a different experience altogether. And I felt comfortable, and I was like, God, I think you brought me here.
When you said that they was a praying hospital,
Yeah,
that was it right
that was
there.
it. That was
And,
enough.
a lot of times, it's of God, there is no question. It just, you get, right, it becomes smooth.
Yeah.
So anything you have to fight for or
Yeah.
fight against, that means
That's
it's not of
right.
God, because God would
Right.
allow you just to walk in.
Yeah.
And like you said, with your you had a
Yeah.
team of people. And
Yeah.
you made sure, and I'm sure while you were in those rooms getting your radiation and all those different chemo,
Yeah.
you was in there talking to people.
Yeah.
I already know she was. She
Yeah,
was
he
with
was.
you.
I actually got to.
Not to take you.
No.
You never know why God has you go through things, but I actually had. At first, I was in denial, but like she said, you have to surrender to it.
Yeah.
And once I did that, the Lord began to open the doors
Right.
and connect me with people that needed
Yes.
to hear my story
Yeah.
and to be there for other people. So
Yeah.
there's a purpose behind everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
And he will bring the people on your journey
Yes.
to you.
Yes.
Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I'm like, oh, I met this person. I mean, even to like when I was going through radiation, because of COVID, I couldn't have anyone there or anything. So it was also a kind of lonely place for me too. But I got through it, and I was taking classes while I was going through radiation, so I could just get through it quickly. So I was doing I took a DJ class for instance, and then what's so funny about that is the instructor, his father worked at MD Anderson and was a doctor. So he would keep me going. I mean, even I would go there weeks sometimes. He'd like keep you going, So it's really a good. It was therapeutic, and just not being around my immediate family. I have 3 children too, and they were concerned, but I think it was good for me because I didn't want them to see me
In that
in
transition.
that transition, going through that,
And that could be extremely hard too when your family have to watch the transition.
Yes.
I see we have a message. It says, did any of you guys work while you were going through the treatment process?
I did.
I tried. Didn't work.
I did. I was working from home,
So the COVID, you were able to work from home. So
It was a blessing for me because I was commuting from Stockton to San Francisco, and I definitely couldn't do that. And so, I work for the federal government, and they do what is called a donated leave. And so they reach out to other branches of the government.
they donate their
And
hours.
I tell you, I was off February through December on donated leave.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's favorite.
On donated leave.
That's favorite.
Favor all day.
Donated leave. I didn't have to draw, I take that back. I had to draw my disability for 1 month.
That's a blessing.
Yes.
Sean says she love you.
I love you too, Sean.
So that's daughter. She also said keep fighting, ladies. She didn't
It's
just.
always a battle. After I finished my treatments, I was on the estrogen modulator, the medicine, tamoxifen, for 10 years.
So what does
I
that
had to
mean?
take that for 5 years.
Tell me what does that mean?
It's a hormone. The estrogen clings to the hormone receptor. That
You see my face?
prevents the cancer.
Okay. So it's like a blocker. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I initially, they said 5 years. So I did it from 2007 to the end of 2012. But then my oncologist said a new study had came out and said it was more effective for 10 years. So I had to take it 5 more years. But it is still, yes, it's been 14 years, but I'm still having biopsies. I just had one 2 weeks ago.
Well, I think you have to keep
Yeah,
making sure you're good.
on the good one.
You do. I mean, still, I know Nicole, she always, I gotta go see my doctor.
Yeah.
And she has this relationship with her doctor. She got me emailing her doctor. I'm like, she's like, email my doctor. I'm like, okay, well, your doctor ain't gonna care about me, but she did respond. We was trying to get her doctor actually to come and be able to answer some of the questions. Yeah. So she already had a trip, and we were trying to move things around. If you guys saw the text, and it's just like, okay, I have everybody saying yes. This is nothing but this is God's timing. And that someone said that they were actually in the process right now, going through these treatments. So I'm sure
Hang in there.
Felicia says God is so amazing, Monica. We came a long way.
Yeah, she was right there.
So she was right next door to you. She was
right there. She was right there. It's such a trip because my family, my sisters and my dad, my son was there because he lived in the home with me, and my former husband back then took great care of me while I was going through it, excellent care of me. But I had to actually stop seeing my siblings and my dad because every time they would come over, they would be crying and stuff, and it was just like a downer. And I'm trying to cracky Joseph,
and they looking at you like this.
Yeah, I was like, I got.
Y'all should see their face in here right now. They just like, sister.
I'm like,
they got me over here ready to cry. Where's my tissue at? It was right here. Y'all see where I hide my tissue? No, I'm looking at her, looking at her sister.
I'm like, y'all just let me get to this.
And I'm sure that was hard for
I
them.
can't keep trying to make you guys feel okay when I'm going through it. I'm the one that's going through it, and I'm trying to comfort them because they didn't want to. They couldn't see it. I had lost every hair follicle in my body.
Oh, look at you now, girl. All natural and cute and stuff. Sister, are you over there crying? No, both of them, they really like that. I wish I could turn the camera around. We don't step our game, but we don't be able to turn the camera around. But they love their sisters, evident about that. We do have 2 husbands in the building as well. They're here to support their wives. I want to find out, like, are you guys the only people in your family that have had cancer? Or do you think like your auntie, cousin, and them had it first? So Nicole, you were the only one? Okay. And you have a niece?
Yeah, but we thought it was on the first side. I don't think we have it directly.
Did she have breast cancer as well? Okay. And did she have it before you or after? Okay, before you. What about you? You the only one?
I had an aunt that was battling we both were battling at the same time, and she is a survivor as well.
Okay.
And then I had an aunt who passed when I was in breast cancer.
And I had one aunt that had breast cancer.
So breast cancer.
Yeah,
This is rare.
This is just rare. I don't even know where it came from, what I was exposed to. And I think that's the most troubling part.
Where it come from.
Yeah, where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more conscious of like where I am, things like that.
You have to change your diet, right?
My diet wasn't bad, actually. I just had sweets. I've had that sweet too. But what I do now, and I pretty much have been eating organic foods most of the time. I was pretty conscious about that, but I'm from the South, so we like to eat, certain things. So every now and then I would splurge, but now I just kind of eat the same things. So that's probably what I've changed most. So I keep it limited, and then if I do have something sweet, it's small.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how we should live life anyway. Yeah. We shouldn't be always. Yeah. Everything should be done in moderation.
Right.
My auntie Christine is on us again, y'all. She said, "I wish I could have been there with Black Ray behind us. Love you."
Yeah.
So my aunt Christine actually would. Y'all didn't know I have a goofy auntie. She be the one jumping around me and her. So Auntie Christine, she went through it as well. And one of my other aunts, my auntie Yvonne. And so it was like one sister, and then they would go all cut. So all my aunties, not all my aunties, a few of my aunties, they cut each other their hair. So when one went bald, another one, she was like, "I'm gonna be with my sister," so they would be like this together. So she went through it, and she went through it like a champ. She was, had some numbness and things of that nature. She should have been at this table, and so I should have actually called her versus texting and so on and so forth. but she was strong through it. We when she had like her treatments, we made sure we went over there to keep her uplifted, or we would go hang out and kind of make her, like you said, she was probably putting it on so that we wouldn't worry about it. When she went through her moment, I saw her daughter and her sons taken to her appointments. I saw my other auntie, August, who had to take care of both of her sisters. Even though she was sick in the midst of it, she made sure that she had her food ready. She went by the meal plan that the doctor, prescribed. So that's another thing about your support system.
Yes.
Your support system is very, very important.
Very important.
It's critical. Okay.
I want to say that I couldn't have made it without my husband. And it was times that I didn't want to eat.
You want
And
over here clapping, y'all. Go give him a round of applause.
he would make me eat. I had bone broth and what is it? Protein shakes. When I didn't want to eat anything, he would like, you need to eat this right now. You need to eat this. And then also a lot of my church members, my mom, people would come over and drop off dishes. And my auntie came over and cleaned up for me. And, people really stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
And my children, it was hard because the same 2017 was the year my daughter, it was her senior year. So I had to participate in all her activities while going through chemo. And so trying to keep a smile on my face, trying to, participate and not show that I was going through what I was going through, and just so that she can enjoy all her festivities. And it was a challenge, but God blessed me to make it through. So I just thank God for everyone that dropped off a package or came and helped, and my husband, my wonderful husband. I couldn't ask for more, because what we learned through it is that those vows are real. And saying sickness and health, that was like within 2 years of our marriage when it happened. 2.5 years. And so if that was not a test,
But
so
God knew what you was gonna need when you got to go through this process.
that part.
So
yes.
he was setting it up already. He
Yes.
already knew that this was gonna be the man who was gonna walk you through this process and make you do things that you didn't want to feel like you
Yes.
wanted to do.
I have a praying husband, and he was praying when I was asleep.
That's my husband. That's how we go with Ed. That's my husband.
Yeah.
No, so the scars. Sean asked about the scars. Now, how do you deal with the scars? So no, we all have, not we all, because I do have one, but it ain't because of that. Y'all see, that was a tumor. That's what they told me, and so I had it because it was getting bigger, and so I kept saying every year they was getting it. They was like, "Well, no, we don't need to take it out." I'm like, "Nothing, just take it out. I don't want it in. Not that it was cancer; it was just a tumor.
Yeah.
But it didn't
We
turn
just didn't
into
want it
cancer.
to-
But how do you deal with the scars? I mean,
But yeah, it's
what you cover it with?
just mine.
Oh, so you mean with your blood?
Yeah.
So what is this scar
That's what they
relative?
went, that's what they went in and put my port. I had 2 incisions. in my port.
Okay.
But
My scars don't bother me. I'll show the scars all day, every day. It's just, I had the lumpectomy, so my breasts are two totally different sizes, and I'm a little self-conscious about that, especially with some of the shirts that I wear, and I be telling my husband, I be like, oh, I can't wear that blouse because you can really tell. And he's like, if you can't, nobody's looking at that. I'm like, that's just very
And I was,
I think, I don't know. I seem like they always, whether you had a lumpectomy or not, it seems like they never the same.
Yeah.
well, I was fortunate to have a doctor who was a survivor as well. So when she does surgery, she does it between the breasts, so it doesn't show here. So mine is like between. The point is like, yeah.
Are you still do you still have an issue with it being 2 different sizes?
I don't have an issue with it. I'm just self-conscious about it. In 2007, I wasn't thinking about getting a vasectomy. I wasn't thinking about reconstructive surgery. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was looking a mess because they didn't have the wigs and the microblade, and I was
They had them shiny wigs back then.
girl, and I was cutting my own veins and stuff.
You learn how to.
Right. So what about your scar? What do you just, it's just a scar?
It's a scar. I did get burned. You can see right here, but it was worse. So it's getting better. I'm coming back to me, and I finished treatment, radiation treatment for 1. It didn't come until 2 or 3 weeks later. Yeah, and it started like a little blister, but then it got big. It was all right here. But
can't tell them.
Some people tell me if I
Yeah.
tell them, then they know. But
Right.
For me, it's like,
Yeah.
it's better than the latter, so it's a move.
Absolutely.
And since yours is kind of different,
Yeah, so I have like a thin scar that goes from behind my ear all over to the other side, but my hair goes. It's going
Yeah,
back.
they
They had
go over
to,
it.
yeah, so what
Okay.
they had to do, they had to shave, which is why I wear a scarf on my head. But they had to shave like to my ear.
Oh,
all the
okay.
way to the front, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't lose none of your hair in the back. I
A
mean,
little bit. I got like, in the back of my hair from the radiation though. It wasn't from chemo. I didn't have chemo.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I just had
Just radiation.
Mhm.
So
And the surgery.
Jade said, "You ladies are so damn strong. So proud of you, Auntie Monica, my shiro. Excellent panel, y'all." She's saying. Dog said to my Auntie Christine. She said, "Auntie Christine kept a positive attitude, always dancing and smiling." That's Auntie Christine.
I did.
And we also said, "Embrace it." Felice said, "We had a time with them wigs, Mom." So I guess y'all tried it. Y'all tried it out. Y'all tried it out. So did you guys find out, like, going through the process, that anybody had any special program or services? 'Cause I know one of my friends, Nietzsche, she makes wigs, and I think, the hospital probably pays her to make wigs for some of her clients. Did they offer you, like, I know some people do scarf services. Did anybody offer any special programs?
They say they have them, but they weren't
Yeah,
like
you
out
have
there.
to-
You
Right,
have to go
you
and
gotta
dig
ask
for
for
them.
it. Yeah.
So they don't give you a pamphlet when you come in and, like, these are.
And that's a disparity because I feel like women of color, people of color in general, usually don't get offered those services the same way maybe other patients do. And that's important because I have to look for, and ask for like the integrative medicine, which is another part of your survivorship. Is they have like breathing exercises, yoga,
Yeah.
the music therapy, acupuncture. I get acupuncture for my dry mouth, and it's helping. But they don't generally
Make it
share that. I have to
readily
find it and then ask
Wow.
for it. And then when I show up, I'm probably the only person who's over there, or
Are you still getting services here in the Bay Area? Those type of services in the Bay
No,
Area?
so I still go, right now, I still go, because it's still new, because I have to go every 3 months now for scans.
To Houston.
Yeah, so I think for my first year, I'm going to stick with Houston,
Yeah.
because, I just don't want another surgeon, and they
Right.
start,
I
yeah.
understand.
Stick with
So I'm
what
sticking with what I kind of started with, and once every 3 months isn't bad,
Right.
So I go there, and then I do the online services for yoga. I do have a local person that does my acupuncture, but I connected her to my doctors there, so she'll know what's going on. But yeah, you don't get it until you ask for it, and actually it made me actually join their patient experience advisory board. Yeah, so that's pretty.
Well, let us know how that goes, and if you have any information we can share with the audience, please. If you get them, you can just go into the thread so that they can get the information
Okay.
that you have. And I know, Sharice, you have something.
The Susan G. Komen agency I went through, and they sent me a gift card for Safeway, $400, and they sent me a check. I want to say it was $500.
Good.
Or that may have been the American Cancer Society. So there is programs out there, but like you said, you got to go out there and
look for it.
hound them and leave messages and check your email, that type of thing.
And so the thing about it, they have these walkathons. So I know American Cancer Society has a walkathon. I know the Susan G. Komen has a walkathon. And so we need to make sure, I know you take part in those, the Susan G. Komen ones every single year. So when you guys see those walkathons, it's not just for the organization, it's actually for the people that are within the organization. Like she said, you don't know how, maybe she wasn't working, maybe she didn't have access to have food in her house while she was going through the process. So if you guys ever felt compelled, I know you have a team. What is the name of your team? Well, I know every year, so she just gathered the world to come and walk with her in Sacramento.
Yeah.
You did a
And so
walkathon, too.
we did a walkathon with a group, at the lake. Yeah, so make sure, and when she gives it, she's gonna tag me, and then I'm gonna put it out to the world so that next time a walkathon comes along, our group, this group right here, We gonna all get some people. We gonna go walk in a big way. I want at least 100 women. You think we can get 100?
I think we can.
We can get 100 people because you got 10, she got 10, I got 10, you got, and then sister and husband and them got 10. So we gonna have 100 people. So if y'all want to join our 10, make sure y'all put your information here. Have you overcome it? What message would you like to provide for women in the community? I did have a question. So when you guys went through this process, right? And I don't know, did you still feel like kissing? Or just were you just like nauseated and tired? You didn't.
Oh, you said kissing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to know. Yeah. Like, I mean, are you just going through the process because you're sick, or do you still have a life for a desire?
Not at that one. Not after chemo.
Not when you're not.
Not the 4 days after chemo.
Right. So you got 4 days.
Initially.
So out of 7, 4 days, you're no good.
No.
So like the 5th day is when you start to get your energy and strength back.
No, it just depends. Like the first chemo I had, I went home. I don't remember because I gave me some Benadryl. And then I worked out on Friday. And after Friday, I worked out because I had it on Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I didn't get out of bed. So the physical therapist told me don't do that no more. You wait till Tuesday, and then you can work out. So.
Yeah, but then about that time, like I had my treatments on Tuesdays. Tuesday after treatment, I was very fatigued. Wednesday, still fatigued. Thursday, starting to feel a little bit better. Friday, feeling good. Saturday and Sunday, feeling really good. Then
Gotta start all over.
Exactly, that's what I used to tell my
Yeah,
husband.
start all over. So it's like I gotta get ready.
Yeah, you don't really feel, and then it feels like your hormones are, that drive is not all the way.
And then you guys went through this process for months.
Yes. Like it takes a whole year to go through that whole, especially if you have to do all 3.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go after you, Mr. Wise. Y'all see he keep showing me the time.
I know.
I think he gave me an hour and 15 minutes today. But I just kind of want to thank you guys for being so strong, sharing your story with the people, because you guys are saving people, whether you know it or not. You thinking we just here having girlfriend talk. That's what it feels. I told y'all don't worry. It's gonna be girlfriends having a conversation, but we were broadcasting. This is important.
Yes.
And a lot of people, they miss it. And then by the time they realize what happened, it's too late for them to fight back. God's gonna save us, but we gotta also be willing. When he give you that feeling of you need to go to the doctor, you need to get to the doctor.
Yeah.
And God saved you guys all. And it's not just for you.
Right.
He didn't save you for yourself. He saved you so that you can save somebody on the other end of that screen. And like you said, there's not enough resources available after the fact. But what I'm gonna do, it may be, you work for that big company. Maybe it's your time to put something together and organize a group, and then you're gonna be on the panel now. And so now we can have more services available. At least they'll know that I need to go to yoga. I need to go to acupuncture. These are other things that will make you feel better, which I've never heard before. I know my aunt had acupuncture, but I thought it was for her feet or something like that.
Different things.
But I'm just saying, y'all see he keeps showing us the time. But I'm just saying, my producer is up here. He's trying to be the boss of me.
That's production.
It's okay. I like him to be the boss. You see it, I also hear talk. So we have another great topic, Sam. This information is valuable to those who are going through it right now with little hope or ready to give up. Great job, ladies. Jay says, Sam, want to know if y'all was feeling crispy. I'm nosy, girl. Frederica said, thanks for sharing much needed information. Thank God for your recovery and healing.
Amen.
So we're gonna go ahead and get out. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to this page. Make sure you share. We have 4 minutes and 9 seconds left, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead quickly and we're gonna go through the process. The name of this podcast is Surviving Cancer. Difficult roads leads to beautiful destinations. So sometimes the road is gonna be rocky, but just don't stop. Just keep going. So the beautiful part of the process is gonna be on the other side of that rocky road.
Yes.
And I'm looking at y'all. Y'all don't look like what you've done.
Man.
Y'all so pretty. Y'all don't get these pretty panels. Y'all is fine. I'm just saying, y'all fine. Look at all the heart. Y'all got a lot of house too. But I'm just saying, you don't look like what you've gone through, and you're standing strong because of that. You stand strong
Yes.
because of him. So, Sister Nicole, I'm gonna let you go ahead and give me some last remarks. I'm gonna have everybody give how many seconds? How many minutes we got? 3 minutes and 16 seconds. So,
Okay.
we'll give y'all 45 seconds.
Just want to say, get your mammogram, your annual mammograms, and don't knock the treatment. God put the medicine here for a reason. And be encouraged. We made it, and you can make it too. In Jesus' name.
Yes, man. Got Sister Nicole, y'all.
Oh, 2 minutes.
Like she said, early detection is everything. You have to get out there and get checked all the time. I think I read an article today that it's younger women at younger ages are getting diagnosed
Yes,
now at a higher rate.
I want to say, check them boobies.
Yeah.
And I don't care what type of cancer that may be out there, be proactive when it comes to your health. If you feel anything that's not supposed to be there, a body ache, anything, go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. That's what we have insurance for. Utilize it.
Yes.
And I just want to ladies know to be encouraged. If you do get a diagnosis, do not be discouraged. Just know that you can do all things through Christ.
That's
He
right.
will give you strength.
Yes, he will.
And lastly, I would say advocate, speak up for yourself. Don't be
Yes.
intimidated because it's your body. And if you can't do it, bring someone along that can, and take notes. So, God bless you.
Right.
So that we're gonna conclude our podcast, but I do want to apologize to my auntie one more again, because I might not be able to go outside tomorrow. So Auntie Christine, I got you, I promise. And you know what? We looked up to you while you went through that process. You and Auntie Yvonne, we admired you, and as I said, you kept your composure. You stayed fun. You kept fighting. That's admirable. I don't think I've ever told you that before. So I'm gonna tell you today that I am super proud of you, Auntie. You're a fighter. You teach me how to fight. And the same thing with these ladies here. You guys are definitely true fighters. And there's nothing. I'm sure everybody on the other end of this podcast feel your energy. They already see how fine y'all are. But I'm sure they felt the energy. And we're gonna read these last couple. Ed's about to show me what they saying. Let me just see. Thanks for sharing. Sean said, thanks God. They said, continue to inspire. Questions. So if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and put them down and when put them in the link. And when they get home, they can check this and then they will answer the questions. So if you have any questions for Regina, Nicole, America, Sharice, and or Monica, put it in the link and they will, when they get home, they're gonna watch it because they're gonna want to look at their pretty selves in the camera. So we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Wait, hold on, honey, real quick. Come on, Sister Nicole. She's gonna pray us out.
Okay. Father God, we thank you for this day, God. We thank you for each and every testimony, God. Your word says that we are overcomers by the power of our testimony. So we thank you for each and every lady, God. We thank you for our Job experience, God. We thank you that you're going to give us double for our trouble, God. God, and we lift up the young lady that left a message that she's going through it right now, God. Give her peace that surpasses all understanding, God. I pray that everything that's said, God, will encourage her on tonight. God, that she will continue to know that she can make it through this, God, because you are amazing, God. Hallelujah. And that this journey is not just for her, but it's for her to share with someone else, God. For guard her heart and mind to know that you are with her. You never left her or forsaken her, God. And I pray that for each and every person that tuned in on tonight, be encouraged. Hallelujah. That God is able to do whatever you're going through. You can make it because he is able. Hallelujah. So we thank you for this night. We thank you for Samantha Wise, God. We thank you for this podcast, God, that it will be a blessing to many people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We're going to say bye to the people. We love y'all. Good night. Happy Friday. That's the
Now, Ava, cut us off.